Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to another episode of Let's Tech About It. Let's just call it the Let's Tech Podcast from now on. This is a special episode as always because I'm here in Bombay and my best friend Aman is in LA. Aman, glad you could join us again from the AM to the PM. But this episode will genuinely bridge the gap between Bombay and LA because there's so many things that we're excited about over here in the tech world. What we're going to do is I'll give you a spoiler alert right in the beginning that Aman and I are going to be focusing on the two big, massive events that are planned out for March, most likely based on the rumor mills. But guys, come on, we all know the rumor mills are actually better than the real story nowadays. The first event is the Apple event, and we have a lot of things to say, so you got to stay till the end and tune in to Aman and me fighting about the Apple event. And then there's the OnePlus event, which we have a lot of things to say about as well. But before we get to them, Aman, I want to start off by telling you that if you look at the masses on this side of the world, then they're not even bothered by any of these events because all these products are way out of their budget. What they're really concerned with is the 25 launches lined up in the month of March, because now everyone wants to launch something in March, by Oppo, Vivo, Realme, iQOO, Xiaomi, Samsung, and the like. All of them with their brothers and sisters and all their sister concerns are launching products. Are you excited about March, or are you excited about March?
Perfect way to say it, right? It's like you had Tech-tober, Tech-tober, but I don't even know how to combine Tech and March. But like March has become this new power month where all of them are, launching these flagship products. And, it was something that Apple used to do, right? It was normally always like an incremental upgrade where it was never like the big event. It was always these little things or the little announcements or the products that didn't get all of the buzz. And now it's just turned on its head, right? It's like March is all about these flagship events, these flagship phones, and it's great, right? Because we're living in the pandemic right now, we're all at home all the time, so the excitement I think is even higher because we all have, well, pretty much not a lot of other things we can really do, and that helps us. Geeks like us will always tune in and be alert about these things, but it's even the common people or the masses that who are more concerned just about the phones, but now they're even more concerned, they're more happy, more excited because, well, there's another thing to sort of take their mind off the fact that we're at home all the time. So it's exciting, but Apple obviously is going to get all of the, the big headlines and all of the buzz, but you know what? I'm actually more excited about the OnePlus event because I think it's going to be, I don't think it's going to be, it is going to be the biggest event that they've ever had, their biggest launch till date. And that's going to be something very exciting.
No, absolutely, Aman. Just like you shifted the focus to OnePlus, I'll be honest with you. I actually understand why a big chunk of people are actually excited about those 25 other launches.
Oh, for sure.
One, it's the end of the financial year here in India, right? So a lot of people would have been saving up and they might be either making their purchases in March or waiting for March 31st and then making their purchases based on their planning. Now, to each their own. But now those budget deals where 1,000 or 2,000 rupees or a few $10, $20, $30 makes a difference to so many people, right? Now, India is the big market. All of them are looking at India for, well, that number one spot in the budget space. In even the big guys like Apple and OnePlus and Samsung are looking at the budget spots, and they're trying to come up with very valuable and bang for your buck propositions over there. But if you look at what Oppo, Vivo and everyone's doing, now of course there's so much criticism about ColorOS and what Samsung's done with Android. But let's be honest, if we rewind 5 years from now, they were perhaps the crappiest experiences on a smartphone. And OnePlus and Google used to be like, wow, look at us. This is the smooth out-of-the-box experience. These guys are smart. They've realized that, hey, you know what? We can fix our OS and make it as close to these guys as possible. So now that gap has sort of, well, been bridged, and it's very minimal. So now the pressure is on OnePlus. Now the pressure is on Samsung. And eventually that transfers to Apple to innovate, like we always say. But yeah, you're right. Okay, so those launches aside, because look, that's going to be a 25, 30-hour podcast we can focus on the two at hand. That OnePlus
Yep.
launch that you're really excited about. What I have heard, and these are several rumor mills, and the Indian bloggers who get onto this are usually right about it, Aman. A lot of the OnePlus chatter starts from India. A lot of the leaks start from India. They have a very active marketing and sales and PR team here in India, and it's a huge market for them. I really think that OnePlus, look, there are 2 to 3 phones that they're going to launch. Let's name.
Yep.
One of them is a little dicey to name because that's the real attacking iPhone approach that they've come up with this time. But the other two are simple: the OnePlus 9 and the 9 Pro. Yes, they're going to be upgrades. We can talk about what the upgrades will be like. But then there's this dark horse, and that is the 9R or the 9E or the 9SE or the, I don't know. It's basically the budget 9. Let's call it the budget
Right.
9.
The budget
Right?
9.
I think it's going to be a slightly older processor, maybe the the 860 Snapdragon or 870, not the top of the line like the 9 Pro has. But let's be honest, just like Apple, OnePlus does a fantastic job with its processors, well ahead of its time. They give you a lot of RAM, they give you fantastic OS, but it doesn't stop there. What you and I are excited about is the OnePlus Watch, a
Yep.
circular watch with Wear OS. That might be interesting, no, man?
Oh yeah, absolutely. One thing we've always, you and I have talked about this, right? That one thing, with the hardware, obviously OnePlus has gotten it right, but what they also got right, which is why we think they've become as big as they have and why they're so popular, is their software. Their software experience is fabulous. It's pretty much as close to stock Android as you can be, with very little sort of, things that they do to make it better. So we've talked about the Galaxy Watch in 2 episodes back, right? And we talked about the TicWatch as well. And they both, the Galaxy obviously uses their Samsung's Tizen software, which, let's be honest, you and I both don't think the best of it. And obviously the TicWatch is there, but then it's a standalone watch. It's not from a major mobile manufacturer, so the connectivity there is going to be that little bit of a disconnect between the phone and the watch, just because it's not the same company. So this is exciting just because they're going to come up with, it's OnePlus, the third biggest, third most followed or popular phone brand, and they're coming up with their watch. And the one thing they always got right was their software. So I'm super excited to see how they're going to take their take on Wear OS and how they're going to integrate that with all of the other great things that their software has to offer. And we've always said it, we really want to see a really good competitor to the Apple Watch. So maybe we're finally going to get it. And not just a competitor to the Apple Watch, a competitor to Apple's ecosystem that is, the whole world is always waiting for someone to be able to come up with something as beautifully synchronized as Apple's ecosystem. So maybe this is OnePlus saying we're almost there. Because the one thing that I guess they don't have, or, we know that there's going to be some sort of mystery product. Maybe it's a tablet. And I think that would be pretty cool as well if OnePlus comes up with something that can really challenge that one of the Apple's products that you and I both use, right? The iPad, which also is going to be upgraded in March.
It's going to be an interesting time to be alive as a tech geek, but I don't think it's going to be a tablet, at least this time. But yeah, that's a great idea. The OnePlus guys are tuned in. Give it a thought. Maybe you need that tablet. Maybe, the Android guys didn't do well enough with the tablets, and that's why iPad dominated the whole space.
Yep.
Maybe it shouldn't have, because the Samsung Galaxy Tab and the other Android guys didn't do a good enough job. If that ecosystem comes in, then all of these guys get extra brownie points. And let's think about that OnePlus ecosystem that we've been sort of hypothetically speaking about, but I think they are putting one piece of the jigsaw every time together, right? So The first one is, of course, a great phone, a great software experience, television in terms of a hardware proposition, not just a box like an Apple TV box. This is a proper, Samsung QLED screen television that they have with their software on it, and some great enhancements in terms of MEMC and what we call ProMotion, and very interesting refresh rates, high nits of brightness. That's an interesting TV. The first one, I remember when I went down to cover it, Aman, everyone was looking at it like this fancy piece from the future, like this robotic, crazy because the minute you switch on the TV, the sound bar comes down. And then they're front-facing speakers. The biggest issue we face with these TVs is that, well, they are downward-facing speakers, and so the audio on these really thin panels is not the best. But OnePlus gave us a great opportunity there. That's one. Then, okay, so TV, check. Then you talk about their fitness tracker, check. You get a watch now, check. And then we're talking about an interesting ecosystem where you're right. Then the tablet is the missing piece. I think what they're focusing on, and something that, well, all of us look at, and it seems to be the main sort of improvement with every production cycle, is of course this camera, right? The camera system, how the software is dealing with it, and of course the hardware enhancements. Now we can trust OnePlus and of course the Android guys to keep working on software enhancements, work on their computational photography. Samsung's done a fantastic job. In some tests, Samsung thrashes the 12 Pro Max, right? So we know that you can do a lot. But that's somewhere where I don't believe it. But yes, a lot of the camera connoisseurs, so to speak, used to say OnePlus lacks and doesn't pack that punch when it comes to cameras. Now, I agree, maybe when you're comparing it to an equivalent iPhone, maybe. But then when we move on, think about it, Aman. At the end of the day, if you see what they did with the OnePlus 8 Pro, it sort of equaled or even beat the iPhone 11 Pro in so many aspects. So yes, optimization with the iPhone is fantastic. They work well with social media apps when you're putting up your fancy Instagram posts. But purely and as a raw camera, the OnePlus 8 Pro is doing a good job. Can they better that? That's what Pete Lau said. And at the end of the day, he put a lot of money into it. We thought it was going to be Leica. Then we thought for the lenses, we're going to have maybe, Carl Zeiss, because their sister company, Vivo, uses Carl Zeiss lenses. And they're also going to be, they've had a tie-up with them before, and they're probably doing it again in March for their new Vivo flagship series, so to speak. It's not. What the rumor mills are really churning is a Hasselblad lens. Now, how does that change things? You're someone who loves your cameras, who loves photography. What does this Swedish company do that could make them perhaps an iPhone killer?
Hasselblad is one of the highest end camera manufacturers out there, right? They make the top level professional grade cameras. I was looking at a camera recently that they made. What was it? It is 400 megapixels. I mean, I know megapixels at the end of the day is just a number, and for some people it doesn't matter much. Like, I know the hardcore iPhone lovers, they always say like, what is megapixels when I can, because the iPhone has 12 megapixels or 15 or something, and it still gives you that end product. But this is not 10, 15, 50, 60. This is 400 megapixels. They are probably the leading tech when it comes to cameras. And I wish I could actually go and buy an actual Hasselblad camera, because I love photography. You know that. It's also, as an architect, it's always great to be able to take good photographs of your projects, right? But now we're going to take this really great company and I'm so excited to see what that does actually to the OnePlus camera, because I mean, obviously now you can't compare a professional grade camera with swappable lenses and all of that to a camera that just sits inside your phone. But at the same time, I mean, if that phone camera is going to even come close to what their professional grade cameras do, that's going to be pretty awesome. It's going to be really great. And there are already rumors about the tech. I think there's like 3.3x zoom. There's going to be 3 lenses, pretty standard, right? Now all of that is... Gone are those days when you used to have a single camera. I mean, now it's like, if you don't have 3 cameras, can you even be called a flagship?
Man, obviously, in a podcast, it's great to discuss these things, but let's see what happens in March, whether OnePlus has some special tricks up their sleeve. They pull some special rabbit out of their hat. Maybe that watch is cross-platform available. Maybe it works on iOS. Who knows? Yeah, you don't know what happens nowadays. Randomly, you see Google and Apple shaking hands over some sort of deal. Among the other big event. Now, we've discussed all the Android stuff, so people don't accuse us of being Apple fanboys. I am putting it on record again. And Aman, I'll speak for him as well, are most excited about the OnePlus event. But then there's another little event one more thing. One more thing happens to be, well, the Apple event. Now, Aman, let's put it out there. I'm going to just give you one line and then you tell me how much of it is true and how much of it do you think is just the rumor mills going in overdrive. What I've heard
Okay.
from, very unreliable sources and basically everything on the internet is there's going to be, of course, a bunch of headphones, maybe 3, which I'm excited about because I think they've gotten 2 of those right in the past and one of them was a major mess up on their part. We'll discuss that. Then I heard, of course, that there's going to be an iteration of the iPad Pro. Then we're going to have a new MacBook M1X. And then, of course, you're going to have the one item that always eludes us, which is the Airtags. Now, what of this do you think we're actually going to see, and what from this do you think is pure speculation?
So, it's interesting because I've read a lot about this because I'm excited to know what's coming up, and everyone is saying that the AirPods are definitely going to get an upgrade, and I think that's true. One, because I think the AirPods are one of Apple's most successful products. I mean, it's like if you don't have an AirPod, who are you, right? That's like this whole, like, they started this buzz out here. You see people walking in the street, everyone got AirPods in their ear. So I'm pretty sure they're launching it. Like the AirPods Pro, which I have, were fantastic, and they managed to get the size down to be a little smaller. So I think now that's going to transition into the AirPods 3. Come on, I mean, it's going to be an AirPods 3. I think that's coming out. I am pretty sure about that.
No noise cancellation on that one.
I don't think so, because I think the AirPods Pro, which I have, they're not that old yet. They're still pretty recent. I don't think there's going to be noise cancellation. I think it's going to be a version of the regular AirPods, and it's going to come down in size. I think that's going to be important, because the regular AirPods, and the reason I could never use them is because they just never fit my ear, right? They kept falling off, especially if I'm in the gym or if I'm walking or running. So I think there's an enough number of people for whom it works fine. Like, there's always this big conversation, right? Does it fit your ear or does it not? So I think to address that, they launched the AirPods Pro, which is the in-ear option, give you noise cancellation, spatial audio, which I think was absolutely amazing. I just can't wait for all of the other streamers to start picking up on spatial audio. I think that was really great. So I think we're going to get a new AirPods.
I really think, from what I've gathered, is 3 types of AirPods being launched. The first ones would be the AirPods 3, which is what you're talking about. The normal AirPods 2 getting a bump up. They look a lot more like the AirPods Pro, but they won't have noise cancellation. So it'll be like a budget AirPods Pro in terms of what we see nowadays. Then there's an AirPods Pro 2 or whatever, the next version of the Pro, which basically they say, how do we change the hardware? So now obviously it takes things up in terms of quality one notch up. But what they're going to do is they're going to go like the other truly wireless earbuds in the market. And they're going to go without the stem.
Even smaller.
No stem.
Without the stem, right?
I don't know. I mean, a lot of guys have messed that up before. Other Chinese guys and we've seen all sorts of bullets and bolts and this and that.
Yeah.
But Bose did a great job. But now, a lot of the guys, let's be honest, a lot of those, like the Sony ones that you picked up for me from the US, right? Now, those have fantastic noise cancelling. I really think, in terms of pure sound quality, the Bose and the Sony ones are better than the AirPods. But 100%. Then what the AirPods can do in terms of seamlessly heading from your iPad to your iPhone to your MacBook, I mean, that's some interesting things that you can do with it. And of course,
spatial audio.
I mean, they have come up with a few. I think Bose has one 3D surround, and even Sony has one option for it, but it's not the same as spatial audio. That's supposed to be another experience altogether.
Yep.
The real one that I'm excited about are the AirPods. Okay, I'm wrong with AirPods Pro Sport. No. They're going to be called the
AirPods Max Sport.
The Max Sport. So AirPods Max Sport.
Yeah, like a light version of the big studio, those big ones.
So it's going to be very similar, but basically the things in simple language, the things that Apple messed up with the first one. What were the 3 things that they messed up? First, the price. Man, that was exorbitantly priced. 2, the fact that they went with a metal body, which sounded really cool. But then when people started realizing that there are like buckets of water in their ears because of condensation issues, and no other manufacturer around the world had ever used metal for the same reason, then Apple had to, well, maybe reconsider. And yeah,
And they were very heavy.
three in terms of a lighter sort of variant
Yeah.
for it, which you can wear out for sports, which maybe has better IP resistance, because there was nothing mentioned about the AirPods
Water resistance,
AirPods
yeah.
Max. I get confused with their names, but
I know, right?
so this might be somewhere between $300-$350, a cheaper option, much better design, and maybe still giving you that premium feeling. So I'm excited about that.
And hopefully they'll also change the carrying case that they came out with, which has been memed.
The less
Let's just stop there.
The less said, the better. I mean, the ladies will have another view on that particular case. But then coming to your iPad Pro and iPad Mini. Now the conversation here, look, you picked up the iPad Pro, Aman, in 2018. And then
Yes.
if a cartoon like me went and picked it up in 2020, I don't know how much value addition, which was actually stuff that I could use, that I was getting in a 2020 model vis-a-vis your 2018 model. So in 2 years, if Apple didn't give me much of a refresh, what did they do? They launched it via press release. What did they do? They added a few more cameras at the back, which you'll never use on an iPad necessarily, and then launched a Magic Keyboard as an accessory, which doesn't come standard with it. What else did they do? They gave you that ProMotion,
pencil.
display and the accessories. But in terms of the chipset, it was almost the same. In terms of the other features, it was almost the same. Now, if they give me an A14 or an A14X Bionic chipset, which is what my iPad Air has, then they give me that 120 Hz display, and then they also give me a mini LED, which is almost OLED level in terms of, I think that might be a game changer yet again, Aman.
Yeah, it's going back to sort of one of our previous conversations on a previous episode about the iPad being a laptop replacement, right? I think they're slowly, one step at a time. Like you said, the jigsaw is coming together, even for Apple, where they're finally, they're adding these elements to the iPad to really make it the capable to actually replace the laptop, right? We discussed this. There are things that are lacking today, and obviously it's things that cannot happen overnight, but they're slowly getting, they're going one step at a time. So I think like today, if you asked me which iPad would I buy, I mean, I would say the iPad Air, because for me, the iPad is not necessarily a laptop replacement. It's not a computer replacement. It's a laptop replacement for me. I can do pretty much everything I want to do on my iPad on the go. So today, if you ask me, I would buy the Air because it's got just enough, it gives me the pencil, which for me was the most important. I wanted to use the pencil. I just didn't have the option when I bought my iPad. The pencil was only available on the Pro. But now they're going to make the Pro really cater to a very specific group of users or consumers that actually use the Pro as a pro device, where they're using it for editing and using it as part of their their workflow and their process. So I think that's what's exciting, and they're really, I think it's finally going to be, you can actually say that this is Pro. It's for a Pro user, and the Air will be for the non-Pro user, but still the user who wants to be able to do a few Pro things here and there, like you and I.
I get what you're saying in terms of that same MacBook Air, MacBook Pro sort of distinction is what you're talking about. But what I find interesting about it is a comment that we got on one of our previous videos. I love some of the comments we get. And one of our old episodes, and they said, look, they explained everything we spoke about and agreed with some things. But one thing that particular user didn't like, he said, it doesn't matter if you pack in all the features into the iPad. Until you let me use Mac OS on my iPad, it'll never be a replacement for me. And I'll be honest with you, this is an update. And I have to say this. Since our last episode where we said the iPad Air can be your daily driver, yes, absolutely. Go back and watch our previous episode. It's still going to be valuable even after the March event. But I'll tell you what, Aman, I am struggling not only with this particular app that we're using, I am struggling sometimes with applications. When I have to submit some things online as well, it just says, sorry, use a desktop version. And then I'm a little lost. So I mean, I have to do some sort of some sort of trick at the back and maybe use some other application. But the fact of the matter is, do I really want that if I am going to do what Apple has told me to do, which is replace my iPad? They might not do that yet, Aman, because they don't want to cannibalize their own product line. I feel like the MacBooks will slowly, within a few years, like I said, get touchscreen. And when they get that touchscreen, then I don't know to what extent they'll give you that cross functionality, but by then I think, like we said, those product lines might converge. So that's an interesting one. Now, look, we spoke about so many phones, the Android guys coming up with phones. Do you really think in this March event, and we've seen a particular launch from Apple in this March event. Now, look, when it comes to taking on the Android guys, would you say the Mini is the real option, the iPhone Mini? I think it's an expensive option, and I don't think it can take on the Android guys. Do you think so?
You know what? It's a really good phone. It's also, it's got all the latest processors and this and that. But at the end of the day, it's still expensive. They claim or they say that it's the budget version or it's the slightly cheaper version. But at the end of the day, it's still expensive. I think the one thing Apple got right was their I'll say it now. It's the SE phone, right? That's their real budget phone. And I don't know if they're being pressured into this, or if they're being pressured to launch an SE phone, or if it actually was part of their plan. But the rumor mills are churning. There's probably going to be an iPhone SE, which might just be an iPhone 11, maybe the 11 Pro or the 11, I don't know, put in with Touch ID. Maybe they'll experiment getting rid of Face ID altogether, which might help in having a beautiful bezel-less display, no notch. I mean, it's the one thing I think every single person hates on the iPhone, right? And that's one of the reasons why I'm so excited about OnePlus, is they don't have a notch.
Yeah,
and at the end of the day,
I don't know why Apple can't go with the punch hole, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know it has to do with the fact that they need multiple sensors that actually help with Face ID. And obviously Face ID was great. I mean, it's super secure. But today, when we're living in the world of masks, it's a pain in the butt. It's really frustrating. And I guess that's why they're now going to give you the option of, in iOS 14.5, that you can unlock the phone with the watch. But then if I'm going to do that, why give me a notch? Let me enjoy a beautiful bezel-less screen. So
that might be a chance. It might be a chance for them to really
it might
redeem
happen.
themselves, because 1 year ago they launched the SE, right? The other one, I think it's the SE2 is what we call it. If we call this an SE3, with a design similar to the iPhone 8 Plus,
right,
with under the hood like an iPhone 11, which is a great phone by itself. And if you price this somewhere where the OnePlus 9 comes in, maybe, or the OnePlus 8 currently comes in, so in India that's around somewhere between the 35 to 50,000 mark. If you can get me a phone there which has a bigger display and has some interesting things, and if maybe it has some secret special surprises like a LiDAR sensor or something, who knows? Because they're planning to make that standard by the end of the year with all their iPhones. Maybe it has the stabilization of the Pro Max. I don't know, all wishful thinking, but they always do pack in one surprise. So that might be something. I know that's something that does well in India. The SE is a phone where a lot of people can enter the Apple ecosystem or show off about having an Apple product with them, because it's reasonable. But the last thing,
and they look good.
And maybe they come up with great pop colors, because they always do it with their cheaper phones. They come up with great pop colors. So the other thing that I want to talk about, Aman, is this elusive Airtags. Are they coming? What's up with them? Before we wrap up, let's just talk about them, because it's such a tiny thing, but so much is made about it in the press. So much is spoken about the Airtags really changing things for Apple and changing the user experience. Yes, it's another element in the ecosystem.
There is another a company that's well established in this sort of market, or in this product market, which is, I think it's called Tile, which is basically a small square tile-like object that you can it can be attached to your keychain. You can put it in your wallet. You can put it into whatever whatever product or whatever sort of your bag or whatever it is that you own that you want to be, you always want to know where that thing is. And it's Apple's sort of take on that. But I'll give Apple one thing is that their Find My iPhone, right? That's something that's pretty great. And, there's two things, right, that Apple has done. Like, there's one thing that's always been helpful for me is sometimes if I've left my phone somewhere in the house and I don't remember, you can ping your phone with your watch, right? That was something pretty cool. And then there's always the Find My iPhone, where you might have dropped your phone and you might have left it somewhere, and as long as it's not stolen and someone's turned it off, you can get on to Find My iPhone and pretty much exactly locate where where your phone is or where your product is. And there's one thing that they got right is their tech incoming, their GPS tech to actually be able to locate that is great. And there's also the thing that I think done it with you, where I can share my location with someone permanently, and in case I'm kidnapped or if something bad happens to me, there are multiple people who will be able to locate that last position that my phone pinged some network or some tower somewhere. So they're taking it and they're putting it into these little circular tags, I guess, almost like a miniature baggage tag, right? I mean, it's a good product. I was surprised when I first heard about it. I'm like, this is new. I mean, I never thought Apple was coming into something like this. But what do you think? I mean, what do you think? Why did they do this? Like, I don't get it. I don't understand why. I mean, it's great. Sure, that Apple doesn't do stuff that is not great, I guess, or that doesn't work properly. But I don't understand their thinking behind it. Let's put it that way.
I mean, if you think about it, they said this in 2019, the Airtags are coming. They said it twice in 2020. Then they say it now in 2021. A lot of top leakers are saying it's not coming. And frankly,
right,
let's be honest, it doesn't change our lives, whether it is or it isn't. I just feel like it's a little bit of, I mean, it might be useful, so you might quote me and people might get angry later, but it's a little bit of a gimmick, just like MagSafe. At the end of the day, the elements needed for MagSafe to work were far too many. You needed a new brick. You needed that's an adapter. You needed a new charger, and then at the end of the day, it charged at snail's pace compared to your normal charger, and it's just dangling around. Yeah, I mean, it's okay, but it's just slightly better than the other wireless chargers in the market. So it's not something which has been monumental. It's incremental, and it's nice to know Apple's doing it as well.
I understand where it's coming from. I understand where they're going. The rumors have obviously churned, and I think this is also what I believe to be the plan by Apple is they want to have a portless, buttonless iPhone in the future. And sure, they started out with MagSafe, but I think MagSafe was more successful on their laptops. My laptop right now is an older version of the MacBook, and it has MagSafe. And the one thing about this, and this is what people complain with USB-C, and why MagSafe was so great. Yeah, exactly. I have MagSafe right here as well. Mm-hmm. It's magnetic. So in case you land up kicking the cable, this little thing will just snap off your device or your MacBook, and your MacBook will stay in place without it being risked of falling off the table or wherever it was placed. And that was something that was super successful with this product. Yeah. And with USB-C, that can't happen. If by mistake someone, kicks the cable or pulls the cable, your laptop is going flying with it. And that is not good.
I never thought of it that way. I always thought that was kind of silly. And what I do like about Apple changing to the USB-C line, and I saw it on the M1 MacBook Air, I was using it extensively over the weekend, is that the chargers become a lot less bulkier, the whole unit. Otherwise, this whole big clunky sub adapter, and then midway through, and it was too much on these old MacBooks. If it becomes more compact, I'm happy. It doesn't matter whether it's MagSafe or not. They are testing things, but since you spoke about MagSafe, there is chatter about the M1X or the M1 MacBook Pro, which is coming up. Maybe in a version of it might come up right now with this particular event. And then there's the iMacs, and then there's
I was just coming to that. Yep.
And then there's also the Apple TV. Now, Apple TV, at least in India, well, it's not really been that successful.
I'm pretty excited about the iMacs as well. I'll just, quickly say one or two lines on it because I used to think that it's probably one of Apple's most beautiful products, right? Like, just imagine, like, you have this one giant piece of a screen, which is it. That's your computer. That's your PC. And I always dreamed of owning one. Like, I'll be honest. I used to always think, like, they make that touchscreen. I'll be the one lining up at, whatever time of the day it is to go and be the first person to buy it. But obviously, I don't think it's going to be touchscreen, but hopefully in the future it'll be. But I think it's a beautiful product. And if they integrate it or if they adopt some of their newer design language with, the squared off edges, thinner bezels, the nicer sort of darker space gray aluminum frame, I think it's going to be a really nice product. And there are also rumor mills that they're going to come up with colors for that, which is something I don't think they've ever done on an iMac before. So it's going to be an interesting launch if it does happen.
There you have it. Launches galore. So March means we're going to be busy, Aman. Maybe we'll have to scale it up and launch a couple of episodes every week or whenever something big happens, and go big on Clubhouse and YouTube as well. But for all of you guys who've been tuning in and talking about setting up a Clubhouse room, we're going to be doing it very soon, and we're enjoying doing this for you. We're enjoying you guys joining in on the chatter. And yeah, March is going to be interesting. Drop a comment if this is something you're watching on YouTube. Tell us what you're really expecting and something you're excited about, and something we perhaps didn't cover and you know more about. We'd love to know about it. If it's on Spotify, drop us an email, letstechpodcast@gmail.com, and well, also just drop us a message like you've been sliding into our DMs on Instagram. Guys, thanks so much for tuning in. This is Aman and me saying thank you. Keep being geeky, keep teching about it, and goodbye for now.